Hello once again. This is Danny from iTranslate, and today we're going to be going over how to manage the interpretation module as a Zoom host. First, you log into your meeting as the host, and you will immediately see the interpretation feature added to your toolbar that you don't normally see once you've scheduled the meeting with interpretation. Then you click on the interpretation module. We'll see here though that the interpreter hasn't logged into the meeting or hasn't joined the meeting yet. So we're going to wait for a second while the interpreter joins the meeting so that we can then enable language interpretation. Here we see that the interpreter wants to come in. We're going to accept the interpreter. We're just going to wait for a minute until it appears that the interpreter has joined. We will shut this down for a minute just to make sure that it can refresh. And here we can see now that Daniel Reyes, that has been appointed as the interpreter number 1 from English to Spanish, is already in the meeting. So we can go ahead and start the interpretation. Once we start interpretation, all of the participants will receive a message, an alert that will say English and Spanish interpretation is available. So as a host, if you're bilingual, we suggest that you leave the interpretation off so you can only get the original audio, whether it is in English or Spanish. But if you're not bilingual, then we suggest you choose a language and stay with the language throughout the meeting. Because what happens is that, for example, if you're bilingual and you are on the English channel, right? You start speaking Spanish, then the interpreter will be translating from English into Spanish, but then the voice of the Spanish tracks will cross and they will not let the interpretation feature work properly. So once we do that, we also have the option to mute the original audio just to hear the interpretation only. Because if we don't, you're going to be able, for example, in this case, we're in English, in the background at around 10% volume, you're going to be able to hear a little bit of the Spanish and mostly the English from the interpreter. Some people find that confusing or it bothers some people, so you can just go ahead and mute the original audio. Also, throughout your meeting, if you by any chance need to add another language or turn off the interpretation feature, you click here on Manage Language Interpretation. You can add another interpreter. Let's say you have English and German, for instance, and you put the email address of the second interpreter, or you choose somebody from your list of participants to be the second interpreter. In this case, we don't have more participants. We don't need English to German, so we're just going to go back. Here you can update once the changes have been made, or you can choose to end the interpretation if you desire to do so. So here we're just going to end the interpretation. It goes back to interpretation. It doesn't offer the languages, but as a host, you're able to enable the interpretation once again. For example, here, then it'll say again the message, the pop-up saying English and Spanish interpretation is available. You can click on it and you can choose the channels and you can manage your language interpretation. Make sure that if there's anybody bilingual on the meeting that speaks both languages or all of the languages in the meeting, have them to not choose interpretation so that it doesn't go against what the interpreter is doing or hinder the job of the interpreter. And or if they are bilingual but they want to choose a channel, have them choose a channel, whether it is English or Spanish or whatever language it is, but stay on that channel and remember to only speak in that language that has been chosen for the interpretation. That's all for right now, and we will see you in another video. Thank you very much.